2, 1, 2. I sound sexier on this one, so. Thank you for the mercy, yes.
I'm a stand-up guy. I don't sit down. I don't sit down when I'm talking. I'm a stand-up guy.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Apologies to those who I told I was going to be main events. The schedule is color-coded. It was the color, the one I got on the internet is color-coded. So the purple, the light, actually it's what's that lavender. And lavender meant main events. So hopefully people will not be over there and expecting me because they'll be disappointed because you guys are stuck with me.
That's why we're here.
Thank you, thank you. Welcome back everyone. Welcome back to Yama. Gonna do it right? Let me hear it. Yeah, that's right. This is my 6th convention this year, and it's been very, very encouraging and moving to see how everybody is bringing this back. We've been masking and social distancing and just being respectful and careful, and we're demonstrating con after con that we can do this. It's been really terrific. So, this apparently is my Q&A because it didn't say it was doing anything else. So I guess we're going to be Q&A, so be entirely up to you guys. For the Q&A, I always like to throw it open for you guys to ask me questions about just about anything when it comes to the career and the shows that I've done. Pretty soon I'll have the doors closed, and then when somebody comes in, we can say, one of us. See, I missed that too, But I'll go ahead and just sort of catch you up since we missed each other last year. I'll catch you up on some things I've been doing because I've missed every damn one of you. Except you, I didn't miss you at all. See, it's like working with an actor. I give him a cue and he went with it. Some people, they will go like, really? No, not really. It's a joke. But you would thank him that you were there. During, I shouldn't step on my own cord here. During the time we've been away, I did set up a booth in my home. Working. Okay, much better now.
That's it.
Turn it into a snake.
There you go.
I'll turn off one of those for you.
Thank you. Okay. So that's off now? The other one?
Yep, the other one's off.
Thank you so much.
It's not. It's not.
Oh.
You know.
Turn it.
Oh,
Okay. All right, yes. This is the one I want to keep. Okay. No.
hello.
Hi.
Can you still hear me?
I can
You
hear
got that, girl.
It's the opposite.
Okay. Now I'm good. Cool.
Okay, and I'm good. Or so I'm told. Anyway, did I say that out loud?
Yes, you did.
She didn't hear me. Okay. Uncle Paul's back. City girl. She's one of my original pirate queens, by the way. Ariel. Queen Ariel. So anyway, with the pandemic, a lot of studios in Los Angeles said, no, we were going to let you into a crowded room where everything's shut in and soundproofed and all that stuff all the time. So we started doing a lot of work from home. I have a little, now we can close the door. Would somebody please do that? Thank you so much. And if others come in, that's when we can make fun of them. So I'll tell you my Australian story about that. But we weren't really allowed to go into studios, and a lot of them wanted to keep going, and all of us did. But because of various mandates, and just at that time not knowing enough about the virus, we just had to kind of go the way we did. Which was my closet in my bedroom, 4 feet by 5 feet. I had a whole bunch of soundproofing already that I had ordered years ago, which I stuck on a wall, and I'd stand for the wall and record my auditions and stuff like that. Or I bought these little, I don't know what they're called. It's like a styrofoam little half of a wall or something like that. I was sticking those to those and putting them in different places to try to get a sound effect and to be completely soundproof. None of it worked, but I disassembled all of that and put it in this closet and got some equipment and started recording in that. And it was really cool because the first day I did a job, I actually had 2 jobs, and both of them together paid for my booth, my microphone, my preamp, and everything else. I went, okay, this pandemic isn't so bad after all. Because you can spend tons and tons and tons of money, but I got advice from some people, and the equipment I've gotten, everything together, if I really put a dollar amount on the booth, everything was about $800. I made that back in the first day. I could buy a version of the microphone I have, the expensive version of it, for over $3,000. But everybody that hears my work, including the people who have put it on movies and documentaries and video games, and public service announcements and recordings from Netflix, every one of them has said, hey, this all sounds great. I go, thank you. Glad I didn't go out and spend a fortune. And you don't have to, and those of you who are working things from home, just if you're going to put stuff together for like a podcast, you don't have to spend a fortune. Give yourself a kind of a quiet spot. There are friends of mine that still step into a closet and get this bunch of clothing right here, and they speak into it, and it's just as good. They're recording work. So you don't have to do that in terms of breaking the bank, because you can keep on doing this and keep on working. One of the ones that I've done, about half of which at home, is on Netflix, and it's called Family Business. Everybody have Netflix? A lot of you? Yeah. Look up Family Business. It's not the, it's just Family Business. The title is Family Business, and behind the title are a bunch of marijuana plants. Okay. So this is not for kids. And once you watch it, you'll know it's not for kids. But I play the character of Gerard, and it is a hilarious show. It's a French show, and we dubbed it into English, and it is absolutely hilarious. You will really love it. Watch that. Shahime, Princess Half Demon, recorded all that in my studio at home. Check that out. It's a great series. Having a great time with it. I think it's out. According to everything I've seen that's come out, I did a documentary that was German, and again, not for kids. This is about a serial killer. And hottest part of the summer in my booth that cannot be air conditioned because the microphones pick up the air conditioning sound. So hottest part of the summer, I'm in my little booth. It's 100 degrees outside and 110 in my booth. 3 of us, 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 3 of us. Welcome. Now, the next time people come in, you get to join in, and we get to do that to them. So that you're in the club immediately, right? So, one of us. Thank you for picking up on that great t-shirt. This is a documentary that actually was something that took place in Germany, where it took many years, but they caught this guy who was a serial killer, and I dubbed over the voice of the lead detective on that, who actually, after he retired, kept working on the case. His sister had gone missing, and they were worried that she was one of the victims, but that's why he took the case on. So I recorded this entire thing 18 and a half hours in my booth. And I was just sweating, oh my God. Because that's the way it always works. You know how bad luck is? It's always during the longest sessions and the hottest part of the year. That's when I put this stuff at home, you know. Cold weather out, yeah, I get to go to the studio and it's warmed up. But if I could just have cool weather when I'm at home. But I stepped out of the booth every time I took a break and I was just drenched. And I'd walk over and look in the mirror and go, $100 an hour. $100 an hour. That's how I kept myself going, you know, because you know you will get through it. Stick with it, you will get through it. Maintain your professionalism as a person who uses his craft well. You'll get through it. Then you'll walk away and you'll have some ice cream and you'll take a cool shower and the checks arrive and then you say, yeah, it's worth it, you know. It's just while you're doing it, it's deadly. So, one of us, my Australian story, those of you who know the con scene in Australia, they have big conventions in places like Perth and, you know, what is the other big city? Melbourne and places like that. I went to Darwin, which is in the Northern Territory. It's up on the north coast, and it's in basically what is tropical Australia. When you go to the south, like I did a con in Canberra, in New South Wales, and you've got genuine winter down there. It's cold. And I went there in September, and you know, down under, the seasons are not the same. It's the opposite of what we do here. So I was there in September, and it was just bone-chillingly cold, and I loved every second of it, right? So I'm up in Darwin, and knowing Australia being as big as it is, there are many cities there that have never had conventions, and the conventions are too far away. You can't just get in the car and drive 45 minutes or something. So Darwin is so far away from everything, they never had a convention, and so they had one called G-Con, and I, you know, sent my stuff and submitted, and they said, yeah, we'd love to have you come here. So this is a full city that has never had a convention. They've never had an anime convention. Bless you. I'm St. Peter, so I have to read that. Plus, I'm old enough I remember the Latin Mass, so anyway. But they had wanted to have a convention there, and there were people there that was just hungry for it. I know because when I went there, I saw scads of cosplayers. These are people that were doing this all their lives, and they never had a chance to have a convention. There were tons of people cosplay and all that, but they don't know the con culture. You know, when I'm going to bring something out, like say the guys when I say drum roll please, you know, and you all go for it, you know what to do. Yeah, I mean, and everybody will use the chairs or their laps or something like that. So I said, I had this thing that I was going to give to someone, I said, drum roll please, and they all went. Because they'd never done that. They had no idea about the con culture. I said, okay, everybody start pounding on your chairs. So they did it. And then I said, you know, somebody came in late and I went, one of us. And the same reaction. I said, okay, when somebody comes in late, we all have to go, one of us. And, the difference is they got a dialect, so they said, one of us, one of us, one of us. It's fun in Ireland, they say, one of us, one of us. You know? But that was great because I got to teach them, or in this case, corrupt them, you know. And really just kind of spread the con culture and get a chance. And now when I've gone there a second time, and they're all on it now, they're ready, you know, they're ready with the one of us. And the man sex story, which I won't tell because there are kids in the room, but actually it's a very innocent story, but I don't want them walking around like, man sex. So what did you kids learn over the weekend? So I do have to be careful with these things. Let's see. It is now out on Netflix, so I did a series called Eden's Zero. And that's a good, fun anime, very R-rated one, so, you know, be ready for that. But that one is now out, so I did that show. And we've continued to do stuff on us. One of us, one of us, one of us, one of us. You're welcome. The ones that always get me, and we do that, and they come in and they turn around and leave. Imhotep, Imhotep, Imhotep. It's not that bad, we're having fun. That's all.
No, you good, you good.
So again, now you get to join us, the next one comes in. So. Also, we're continuing with Miraculous Ladybug. There are more seasons coming. I don't know if my character will come back yet, but there's going to be more. I can't tell you anything else. It's just I'm under the NDA, but I do like to tease everybody and let you know that there will be more episodes and stuff like that. Be careful, she's armed. You know. I just noticed that when she, okay, that's right.
You don't bring a knife to a reality altering mass weapon destruction, right?
Good. That should be on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite ones is when in doubt, just fireball the whole room, so it's a good D&D one, so. When in doubt, just fireball the whole room, so that's been a bit of catching up for me. Done some, a little bit of traveling, conventions have taken me to different places. But again, my heart to yours, thank you for all doing YamaCon again, making this happen again. And I think as long as we're careful about this, everybody's responsible to be able to do the con trail again. I've got one coming up next month, and then at least one the following month. So it's continuing, we're going. Thank you all for that. So, since we've been a long time away, I'm opening this up. Questions you guys might have for me about the career, about the business, and shows that we've all known before, and voice work also, because I don't have a voice panel this year, so we can do the voice thing too. Ask me about how I create the voices. Yes, on the side.
So what character, whenever you was starting to perform the voice for the actual anime or any of the shows, that you knew this is going to skyrocket your career? That you personally thought?
In terms of ones that I thought would take off?
Yes. The biggest one.
That's actually, I've never been able to say that honestly, because we go and we do the work and we don't know what's going to happen. One of the best shows I ever did was one of the cutest little animes you could ever see. It was called The Adventures of Zoe and Charlie. And I did it 35 years ago, and it's still sitting on a shelf someplace. And I was the sage, I was the narrator, I was in every single episode. Cute, sweet little show, educational, and the story with that was, at the time, I can't remember, but two of us, two of us, two of us, two of us, two of us. Fabulous babes, fabulous babes, fabulous. To answer your question in terms of just being direct with it, we have no idea if the show's going to take off or not. I had no idea Kingdom Hearts would do what it was. Around that same time, I'd say within a few months, it was when we started Naruto. And look at the journey we've had with both of those. But I had no idea. You go in and you do the job, and they'll tell you, well, this is going to play here and here, and we're hoping to do that or whatever, or this is just like a pilot, we don't know what's going to happen with it. I did a comic strip dub as Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
Yeah, and to my knowledge, it never went anyplace. The last thing I heard about it was they were trying to find the paperwork so they could file the taxes. That was the last thing I heard. They never said, oh, it's going to play here, we're going to do that or whatever. No, they said, do you have that stuff you signed? Because we can't find the paperwork on you. And I went like, well, there's some glory for you. I could have been Commissioner Gordon, come on. But yeah, it's too bad we can't predict that, because I would like to be able to say to people, look, We just did, in 1 week, we took care of 2 episodes of this brand new show, and we feel like it's really going to take off and all that, because they don't necessarily do that. I had no idea that Miraculous Ladybug would be big as it is. No idea. That was one of those where I didn't audition for it. The studios overall, the people that run these, it's nice having a network, and I actually do a panel called Building Your Network. It's nice to have a network of people all over the city that run studios because they all know what I can do. And so they'll simply call me and have me come and do a role. Master Fu was like that. They said, this would be a good role for you, come on in. And again, it's a dubbed series from France. We don't know what's going to happen with it, where it's going to go or whatever. Netflix went to Europe and just started snatching up shows right and left. The German one I did, that was a show that went to Netflix. I've done several other series for Netflix. They were screaming for material, for stuff to put on their channel. Hulu and HBO and stuff like that were sometimes sending stuff to Netflix. They quit doing that. They have their own platforms now. So suddenly Netflix said, we have a lot of hours to cover, So I get a lot of calls for that reason because I do a lot of different voices. I can't remember the name of this one, but I did it a couple of months ago, and I did a lot of voices on it. Several doctors and some soldiers and stuff like that. And the director, Cindy Robinson, wonderful, wonderful lady and good director. And she said, Paul, we need every voice in your head. Are you sure you want all of them? Not quite that bad, but that's one of those things. They go out and they get this, hours and hours and hours and hours of programming. And that's how they're going to fill their schedules, but that puts a big burden upon each little studio that Netflix contracts. And then they get to us and they say, well, we have 40 episodes and they need to be done last week. It's kind of like that though. It's amazing how many clients, they're terrible this way. They will hold episodes and hold episodes and hold episodes and tell us they're coming, and they hold them and they won't send them, they won't send them. And when they finally do send them, they're on our necks. We need to have these done really fast. What's the matter? Why aren't you done with them already? It just got here. I don't care what you think. So you have to kind of be patient with that because they're usually under the gun themselves and they figure they can blame us.
Yeah.
Well, sorry if you don't send us the episodes. It's like you get the episodes but no scripts. Same thing. Now why can't you just have the actors ready to go, working 24/7? We need some time, plus I'm the director, I need to watch this and see what we're after, It would have been great, especially with Miraculous Ladybug, because I had no idea how big it was. I was finishing a panel, like here, and I said something in passing about Ladybug, and half of the people in the room stopped, turned to me and gasped. They didn't know I was doing the voice of Master Fu. I said, well, it's in the program and all stuff, but I didn't think it was that big a show. I got back to Los Angeles, and the next session I did for Ladybug, I mentioned that to the director. He says, don't you know? Ladybug's huge all over the place. I went, oh, okay, cool,
Takes off overnight.
Yeah. And sometimes the show will just take off like that. Again, there have been other very high-quality projects I've done that haven't gotten very much attention at all. How many people saw the 10 episodes of the now canceled live-action Cowboy Bebop?
Yes.
A-. Okay, I know it's a controversial thing. People are going, wasn't even close to the show. I actually liked it. I liked the fleshing out of it. But I'm sorry, Punch and Judy. Mm-mm. And I was Punch, that was my part. They should have let me do it, But they just did short service to them, and they had a couple of quick little bits. It just didn't work. So I think they need to fix it. Maybe not even recast it. But then they turned around. I just learned yesterday they canceled the show. They aren't going to bring it back. Low viewership, and it was also expensive. You can tell by the way that show was made. They spent some bucks on it. Bless their hearts.
Others, questions? Sir?
At
Naruto or Shippuden, like during the Great Ninja War, when there's two Kuramas,
Mhm.
they sound like slightly different. And like
We did that purposely, yeah. To make
talking,
it- yeah.
you're talking to yourself pretty much. Was that like hard not to like mix them up?
Luckily, that version of that voice, I have a whole bunch of them, okay? So when you hear me as Kurama, the man-tailed demon fox, that's the whispery version. You hear the whisper in there?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, this is about part of what I do when I do the voice maker panel. It's a whispery quality. The biggest creature I do has a whisper in his voice right now. It's like worm one is the deepest voice I do. It's a little tiny worm, but it's the deepest voice I use. Nobody realizes that, but it's the lower part of my range. When I did the other version of it, I need to change it up to one of my other ones, so you can hear that it's Kurama, but it's a different Kurama. And that's always a challenge, especially when you're talking to yourself, you're right. Anyone? Yes?
How did you get into, well, anime or and voice acting in general?
Well, I try to explain to people that you don't want to think of voice acting as something separate. You want to think of it as something further down the road. You want to become an actor, do theater, do as much on stage as you can, do improv, you know. Improv is a great way to trust yourself as an actor. Eventually you start saying, okay, those answers that come to me, those instinctive things, those are the right ones. It's hard to do that. Two of us, two of us, two of us, two of us, two of us. Thank you for attending. They go, thanks, and now we leave. My trail, shall we say, my way of doing this was, I grew up in San Diego. I did regional theater there, community theater. I sang in the opera company for 4 seasons, did musicals, did a lot of legit theater, as they call it. Legit theater's like if they aren't singing, it's legit, you know. So. It's all acting, you know, come on. But came to LA because this, you know, that's the city on the West Coast, that's where you need to go. LA or New York are still the big places, right? So when I came to LA, I tried to get as much studying under my belt as I could, okay? A town like San Diego is one of the biggest cities in the country, but it's very laid out and it doesn't have a big theatrical scene. It's just far away from everything, right? So I came to LA and I said, I want to get as much training under my belt as I can. And so I was taking an acting workshop, and there was a guy sitting next to me who said something with a Scottish dialect, and I said it right back after him. And he turned to me and said, you've got a really good ear, have you ever studied? I said, no, I just hear it and I do it. He said, well, I teach, do you want to come and work with me? And again, any chance I get, sure, you know, let's do this. So he taught privately in his apartment, and there were like 6 or 7 people in this little workshop, and we learned the phonetic alphabet. I studied and studied and studied with him, and he was impressed enough with me that he asked me to teach. Now, I hated school. I hated school. I finished high school, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I really hate this. And so I didn't go to college, I have no degrees. And unbeknownst to me, he wasn't asking me to teach this little workshop, which is what I thought he meant. Come teach with me. I thought it was going to be like, you know, okay, how about your living room, you know, and we'll get 7 or 8 people and we'll do that. No, I'm teaching where he's teaching. And keep in mind, I've never been to college, no degrees, never meant to be a teacher. And my first teaching job, I'm walking onto the campus of the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Expected to be caught any moment. But it went very well. I taught several sections, and then over that year, I taught several times. And I was always nervous about it. I thought, well, I'm going to get busted or something's going to go wrong, and there's really nothing wrong with what I was doing. But I just felt woefully underqualified. And I ended up doing that for 4 years. So I studied the accents and the dialects to be a better actor, to be skilled, and I have about 40 of them under my belt. And I've taught them and I do all that stuff. When they bring me in for a character with an accent, anybody know Lupin the Third? Yeah, the original series back in the 60s, we've been dubbing that.
Awesome.
Yeah. And my character that I did in the movie, The Secret of Mamo, I played Mamo. My character appeared way, way back then. And then I did some other episodes, and the director called me and says, I brought you in because I know you do a French accent. And it's knowing me and knowing my work gets me cast. You know, you want to get in that wonderful position where you don't audition anymore. You know, it's nice when you actually, they bring you in like, yeah, okay, here you go, here's your script, go for it. You know, didn't have to go through that process, you know. It is one of my favorite to do, avec ta musique. And there were also lines in French, and we changed some lines to French. And he said, how do you spell that? Okay, C apostrophe E-S-T M-O-I. I said, c'est moi. Having the skill set to be able to, and you bring that where you, whatever you're doing, important. Study as an actor. Ground yourself as an actor. Do as much stage work as you can. That is the education that you never lose. It keeps you there, you're confident. Improv teaches you to trust the answers that come into your head, because I was one of those people. An answer would come to me immediately and I would think, no, it can't be right. One of us, one of us, one of us, one of us, one of us. Welcome. So, I got into voice acting because somebody heard me doing this stuff as I was teaching, and asked me to come in and audition for them. And that's how I got my first show, which was Robotech. Anybody know Robotech? Yeah, it's one of the old kind of original ones, very adult, not in its content, but the fact that it was an adult story. It wasn't cartoons for kids, it was a serial and serious stuff going on. But that was in 1983. It was my first show. 1985. I turned 66 last month, by the way.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wait, you're 26?
27 next week.
Okay. Who the hell's Netflix?
That was the case simply because I studied and studied and somebody heard what I was doing and brought me in. Plus my voice has always been kind of special, weird. There are times when I don't get cast. They said, we need background voices, and your voice sticks out because you sound like you do, you know. And that's true. When I listen to my work later on, I go like, I'm supposed to be this nondescript person in the back. Yep, Paul St. Peter was in that session, wasn't he, you know? So in a sense, it kind of gets in the way. Hydrate, everyone. All right.
I would have kept going, but nobody went, Chuck.
That was recused. All right. You're like a Viking when you're on the beard, right? So getting into voice acting, again, I tell people don't start to get into voice acting, you need to be an actor. Okay, whether you can do voice acting later is a whole other story, I promise you. It's the most difficult style of acting I have ever done, and I've done many different styles, even in different languages. Anyone? Next? Yes, sir.
What's one project you wish you could have worked more on? Like, had more episodes, voiced more characters?
Oh, wow. I wish I could have kept going on Bleach. I wish I could have kept going on Ladybug. Again, my character may come back, but I'm not part of the story anymore. You know? I wish there was more Kingdom Hearts coming for me. My part of the story, and this was kind of how it was explained to me, my part of the story has wrapped up. Coming back, coming back, coming. See, it's qualified, he was here before. See, it's that or somebody walks in the door and I say, where the hell have you been? Or the other one, somebody walks in and I go, thank God you're here. They run. That's usually when they leave. No.
Can we do that with the next one?
I'm sorry?
Can we do that with the next one? Can we do that with the next person also?
Please do.
I don't want to scare them. Thank God you're here. He says, you're welcome.
What are you, a psychic lady?
But yeah, I mean, just about everything I've ever done, the shows that I've enjoyed, there are sometimes, like any other project or stuff we do where you go like, well, thank God that's over, you know. I did one particular one where the director was a real jerk. I found out he was that way with absolutely everybody. And I got replaced. And when I walked away figuring that would happen, and I went back to my car and I said, that's perfectly fine with me. I've heard all about this guy, I don't need to do that. Plus, don't try to tell me I don't know what I'm doing. I've worked with way too many directors on way too many projects and done way too well to have somebody tell me I'm incompetent or you don't know your stuff, you know. And sure enough, nobody wants to work with that guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they quit hiring him. They quit asking him to write episodes, you know. You know, there's an old saying from my artistic director when I was doing Nevada Shakespeare. And we had a company in Los Angeles called Jester Productions. And we did Shakespeare on the Meadow in Palos Verdes. We did Nevada Shakespeare in Fox Ridge Park. He was the artistic director and often acted in the productions. And at the beginning of each production, every summer, he would tell everybody, okay, look, we're a company, we work together, everybody's getting the same pay, we're all going to be going through the same troubles in the same hours. Everybody learn to work together well. If you work with me this year and you're a jerk, next year I'm going to hire an actor as good as you are who isn't a jerk. Okay? And one thing I try to keep in mind, I'm always accused of being modest, and I am, generally speaking. As an actor, I'm modest about my craft, about my work. I always remember when I'm in front of a microphone that I have at least 50,000 other people in my craft that want to do what I'm doing right at this moment. Even if it's a cheap job, even if it's a low-paying one. And that's probably a conservative number. My union has 160,000 people in it. But I like to use the number. There are about probably 50,000 actors who would love to be right where I am right now. So I just say, go on with the job. And don't feel like you're all special. Somebody's ready to jump in, I promise you. I promise you. One of us, one of us. She actually works for me, so it's okay.
Works for you. Oh, that's new.
Oh, is that the wrong thing to say? Oh.
I'm working with you, my love.
Yes, you do.
I love Paul. Paul's amazing. I was his liaison at another con, so we're besties.
Yep, absolutely is.
Oh, making another con jealous. Now kiss.
That's right. And she owns me too. So. Luckily, there's lots of people around it. So, did I say that? No. This thing. Oh my God. Next question, please. Yes, in back.
With more people able to get their own sound equipment and the internet being used as a platform for personal projects and voice acting in general, how has that changed the field based on how long you've been in it? Has that had any effect on your end?
It hasn't so much had an effect on my end in the sense that luckily I was able to set up a booth and work at home. There are actors that normally would go into a studio and work as often as I would or more often, as good or better than I am, etc., who don't have good internet signals. They don't live in a good environment. I have an airport near me, okay? So my place is soundproof, but every once in a while I have to go, hold it, pause. Okay, let's go again. Or, you know, Roberto, my gardener, and his leaf blower. I said, we have to hold for Roberto. And then we pick it up again. A lot of actors, unfortunately, are not in that circumstance, so it has hurt us as far as guys, with the pandemic, did that stop us? Did we have the technology, etc.? We're hurt in a way by that. On the other hand, it has expanded greatly because many more people can do their work at home, like at audiobooks. Like I say, in my particular case, I did a public service announcement, a PSA for Ladybug. I recorded all of that documentary at home that I told you about. You know, without that booth, I wouldn't have gotten those jobs because there are studios that still don't want us to come in. I would have to say, in terms of since I've been in the business, I would say it's a very positive thing that you can do things on the internet, you can do things in your own studio. It broadened the horizons. I still prefer to go into the studio. It was designed for that, okay, but I can, yes. And I make my own work at home, you might say. Leaving us, they'll be back, they'll be back. Holding them to their promise, right? Did you all see it? Don't remember? Okay.
One more black and white.
Yes. It is radically different, though, from when I started. Radically different because of the technology at home. And again, there are people that can get their Mac set up, Pro Tools, convert a small living room into a studio and create a movie from start to finish right there. That's gigantically different from the way it used to be. Next. Anyone? Oh, they left, nobody went? Okay, good, thank you.
I was wondering, how hard and how many takes did it take when you were on Digimon with Derek, Steve, and Prince to actually get the syncopation down for the fusions that they did?
Yeah, that's a funny story. First time we did it, Steve went in solo, because we don't work together. We did not stay there and work together and do this, no. One records, the other one comes in separately, okay? It's a funny story because Steve recorded it first, and then I came in and I matched him, and then we had the two voices, the blend or whatever you want to call it, right? And then they told me later, oh, by the way, we're going to record you first from now because Steve says he likes the challenge of matching. And I was doing a Digimon panel with Steve once, and he was saying about how much more difficult it was, and he kind of wishes that he hadn't done that. It's very, very hard to match. When you're doing something like that, it's not just two voices matching, you know. I mentioned before, I've sung in opera before, and you have a certain amount of timing. I've sung barbershop quartets and madrigals and all sorts of things like that, right? So you do have a certain time signature. There's a way you do that. Those of you who have sung before, been in choirs, you understand that's why you sound like you're all together. Because you have a measure and you have 4/4 time, and you have somebody directing you. But here's Steve just trying to match my cadence, trying to match my stress, trying to match all this stuff, and it was much harder than he thought it was. You know. It wasn't easy for me when he did it the first time either. The advantages, though, in that particular case, we aren't trying to match each other's tone. They wanted two separate voices, so that was not a problem. But yeah, difficult. When I heard him, I didn't know he felt that way. When I heard him talk about it, I was like, really? You asked for that. He goes, I know I did. Nice. Just drinking, or no question? Okay, right. Just drinking, good for you. Yes.
You said you do 40 different dialects. Did you do Kurama in one or two of them?
Yeah, sure. People wonder about that too. They say, well, can you mix the stuff you do? And yes, I can. I never even thought about it. I just did it automatically because I thought, as a young actor especially, I used to think, well, everybody can do the same stuff I can. They are back. They are back. They are back.
I'm just picturing Scottish Kurama.
So let's see. Let me give you a fun one. Let's make a Kurama an Irishman. Okay. Let's see. What would be a good line? So Naruto, let's shoot him up, Howard. Zemnis as an Australian.
Yes.
So I am I am in this leader of organisation 13. Thank you. And again, it was sort of like when I first started studying dialects and accents, I thought, they would give me something to say like as an Italian. I would say, I'm not like a disatina. These are no good for me. Okay?
Already better than Chris Pratt from Mario.
Shots fired, man. I would just do that. The teacher would teach me and I would do that. And I never thought, I didn't think, well, I'm good at this, I'm special. I just did it. And I figured everybody could. And I'm in a room with 7 or 8 other people and none of them can do it. Some of them can't even do this.
I can.
Well, why? Because we're Americans, we don't have tapped R's or that's a uvular R. Why would we do that? We don't do it in English. I could do it without even thinking about it. That's why I thought everybody could. When I studied French and doing a French accent and a German accent, Germans have uvular R's too, like that. I would just do it, and I thought, what's the big deal? And then I'd be around people, and here was the real eye-opener. When I went to the American Academy to teach, and I had 28 students, and I had to go one at a time, doing each of these sounds, and 26 of them couldn't go, arr. Not that, that's a uvular R. That's the tip of your tongue. It's called a tapped R. You guys have all said arigato, right? That's called a single tap R. You can do that. Arigato gozaimasu. Arigato. That's a single tap with the tongue. Like saying ladder. That's a single tap with the tongue. It's that double. Because if you're a Scot, you've got to have a double tap R, or you're not doing it as Scot. It's not real. It's not accurate at all, unless you can do a double tap R. Like that. The Russians are the same way, but it's called double tap tar. So I didn't think a thing of it until I started teaching. I was going like, God, I don't want to say they're not getting it because they understand the lesson, these don't work up there. But I matched them up like that. I would do that with friends of mine. We'd be kidding around and none of them could do it. And I would just bam, 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 voice, accent, voice. Let me to finish that little one out, and then I'll get to your question back there. Let's see. Let's do Wormmon, but speaking French.
I already have everyone here.
No, yes.
Yeah, what's wrong?
Okay. Well, you try to show she wants Sean Connery. But I'm going to have a Sean attack if I don't watch it. You've got to be bloody careful here. All right. You want to worm on, but it's Sean Connery. That's difficult, yeah. They're both the same range, but I was going for Wormmon, but speaking French. Okay. So let's start with the voice first. Wormmon, he was just a little guy, didn't want to bother anybody, all right? And I'll say, you are adorable in French, but as Wormmon, I'll say, qu'est-ce que tu es adorable. Yes, qu'est-ce que tu es adorable. Qu'est-ce que tu es adorable means you're adorable in French, but that was with the Wormmon voice. Yeah. So it's fun to mix and match like that, and I do get sometimes, anybody remember who Marlon Brando was? Okay, good, yeah, The Godfather, the first one, yeah. I was doing an anime, and this took place at a city somewhere in the south, and they wanted southern dialect, specifically the Tidewater, but they said he and this partner gangsters, okay? And with his, I was the little gangster that's tall and the big, huge, dumb guy, that kind of thing. So they said, we want them to be southern, but to be gangsters also. I said, oh, I'll just go ahead and mix this voice up. So I started out with a good Tidewater dialect like this, and I turned him into Marlon Brando, but from the south. And the director just went. I said, well, you said gangster, and I thought it'd be great, and then you said Southern yes to be. You know? Again, I just throw them together like that. It's a lot of fun. I can have a great time. Yes, sir.
How many languages do you speak?
I almost speak English. That close. Actually, yes, English, my native tongue, so to speak. I speak a pretty fair amount of Spanish, some French, some Italian, and actually more Zulu than others. How many people have seen Resident Evil 5, played the game? Look at the credits at the end, you'll see my name. I was a zombie, and I spoke Swahili. Zulu and Swahili are both of the same language we call Bantu, the dialects of it. And this is where I, as an actor, also am a linguist. I study linguistics and history and stuff like this. It always astounds me, the things I've studied all my life just because they're interesting to me, I end up using as an actor. Thank you. By the way, that was a sign with 10 minutes left. Nobody saw it. Thank you. So I wouldn't say I'm fluent in a lot of other languages, but as a person who uses them, yeah. You know, and then it was bizarre when I went in for Resident Evil 5 because the director said, okay, we have to have you say these things. Do you think you can handle them? I looked and she goes, it's Swahili. And I said, very close to Zulu, which I've handled. Okay. Real quick lesson in that. They're both Bantu dialects. Zulu is southern Africa and it has a mixture of the bush language, the Khoisan language, which is one of the oldest surviving languages in the world. This is where they say, okay, that's part of their language. So some Zulu has that. There's a name that does this, Changwe. Swahili doesn't do that. They're not adjacent. But it has a lot of the same way that it's organized. So I took it and said, yeah, okay. So I did the whole session, zombie voice, what I was saying, things like, you know, those are Zulu phrases. And afterwards they looked at me and went, wow. Because again, in this particular case, mixing voices with a language, I never thought I'd use it. But I have this stuff written down, I memorize it, and all that kind of thing. So later on, I talked to the director, we were telling stories about that, and she says, you were the only white guy we brought in to work on that. You know? But see, again, this is another case of a director that I know in my network that knows what I can do. So she can bring me in for that. Since then, I've taught her Italian accent and stuff like that, so we're yes.
Yeah, is there any character that you've done that you, what's the word, identify on a personal level? Identify with on a personal level.
In a way, emotionally, but live action.
Okay.
There's a series I did that was done in Turkey. This was a Turkish accent, and we dubbed it. And I did several of those, but one episode, one kind of character actually stuck out for me. It's very emotional, you know. He and his brother hadn't spoken in 30 years. The gist of the story was there were these two angels. They would come upon a family that was in strife and trouble and all that stuff, and they would, as angels, speak to the different ones and try to get them back together. And I was in the booth, again, working by myself, but I'm in the booth, and my character's talking with his brother, and they're hugging, and they haven't talked, they're crying, and I'm in the booth, tears running down my face. You know, when you ground yourself as an actor, you can bring yourself into that. And yeah, when I was doing this other one, a Netflix one at a studio called Dubbing Brothers, I was doing a character who was slowly sliding into dementia. And I was here and I was trying to remember how to do something, do a math problem. He was a Sudoku expert, but he was forgetting how to do Sudoku when he started crying. And I'm in there going like, trying to do all this, it's happening to me now, damn it. But the director and the engineer, when they were watching, and she gets him to talk back, she goes, salt tears in here. And we're all just going, but yeah, absolutely. get into the characters, and as a grounded actor, you should be able to do that. You should get into their shoes and be able to do that, and trust the people in there to go like, hey, cry, baby.
But you're 26.
27.
How do you identify with the character going through dementia?
Oh, I just remember my own experience at 66. Wait, I am 66. Where are you people right now? So,
Are there any performances you saw where an actor tried an accent or dialect where you were confused, you're very unimpressed with?
oh, scads.
Any come to mind?
Probably nothing you would recognize right off. I mean, I did one really bad thing for Disney, which is never aired. It doesn't surprise me. Called Twinkle Toes. And somebody in there was supposed to be French. And they didn't cast me, and I'm sitting in the booth going, oh my ears, you know. So I've heard things like that. I had another project, the same thing, another friend of mine. I don't know why they cast him, they know I do the accent, you know. So we got about 5 minutes left. So 4. I love her to death.
Gotta go by your boss.
Yes, my son.
Have you ever done a role that was, even if it was just like a short thing, like a commercial or something, that was in a different language than English? Not just a line, not like a line or two of a character, but like the whole thing wasn't English.
I've done some stuff in Spanish where I had several lines like that.
I don't even need this.
But I mean, it's a better way to save your voice. Yeah, I've done that. I did a couple of projects where, a couple of different projects where I was speaking Italian. I've used probably, if you count Laotian and things like that, probably 20 languages in my career. You know, you learn the rules, you learn how to pronounce them, and when you see it written down in such a way, you can do that. But I don't go around telling people that I'm fluent in Cambodian or something like that, you know. And they have coaches there, they will help you. I did something for an IMAX film, and this was a big surprise. I got to the session and they said, I swear, when the girl cast me, she asked me if I did a French accent. I got there, and it actually said all of the lines were in French. And my French isn't that good, okay? And it would have been nice to prepare, because then it would have been that good. But I know the rules of pronunciations, how it works, so I looked them through and I did all the lines, and it was fine. And then, as I was leaving the booth, somebody came walking in, and I heard the producer say, so is French man going to be Spanish man too? I walked back in the booth, I said, is there something else I need to know? That was only one line though. It was an IMAX film, you know, exploring America, Columbus and stuff like that, and I just had one single line in Spanish, you know. And I was fine. Pero y si no hay un paso. But what if there is no path? Is what that means. Last one, before my mic dies. Yes?
What was your favorite character you've ever done?
My favorite character I've ever done? It's a tie. Between Wormhon, my sweetest, most loving, pathetic little pick 'em up and hug 'em character, and Punch from Cowboy Bebop because it was so weird. If you're not familiar with the series and you want to see a good anime, it's a good adult anime, get into Cowboy Bebop. It is fantastic. And when my part comes up, just hold on to your seat.
Which episode is it?
There's a few.
I think we're 25 episodes, and I think I was in probably about 14 or 15.
Okay.
I can't say for sure. But there's throughout. But I just say and do the weirdest stuff because when I was cast, they asked me to do 2 accents at one time. We want you to sound Texan and we want you to sound Mexican. Can you do that? I said, you can't do 2 accents at one time, but I'll do this for you. I'll change accents right in the middle of a sentence. And I did. And in some places I actually did speak Spanish. And my Spanish is Mexican Spanish, okay? You know, I do a un güero, parece moreno, chulito, kind of Los guy too. But actually, the Spanish I speak is, really originates in northern Mexico. So I would actually spoke some Spanish like that, like a cowboy would. The other part of it is they want them to speak like a Texan. So I'd say, shucks howdy, how y'all doing? And so it makes all that stuff together. So that was very, very weird. Guys, our time's up. so much, and I have tonight 9 to 10, is that right? In panel room 3, Zenist and Dark. This is an 18+ panel, so you can come in and ask other questions and ask me to say other things. And I'll do it, most of it.